Alright guys, welcome back to another chess video. As you guys can probably hear in my voice still, I'm still recovering from the sickness a little, but we are mostly good. I have another banger video for you. I'm back, and so let's get right into the analysis of this. This was, of course, another win, because all I do is win. So, hope you guys are ready. Let's get into this. So we started off with a simple king's pawn opening. As you can see, I burned a lot of clock. I was trying to get my music set up. So it took me a little bit. I was getting my music set up while I was playing the game. But basically normal development, got our knights, bishops out. And this is about the point where the first impactful move of the game came, which is bishop there. And obviously this could have led to a fork. He should have, taken or done anything else really. Bishop was a bad move on his part, because now I can push this pawn and it attacks here and here at the same time, and it's a fork. I unfortunately did not see this during the game, because what I was thinking about was this and this. So queen defending, knight defending. And so I was like, well, if he takes, I can take, and then he can take, and I can take. And then we're up winning because my queen's here. But then unfortunately I was like, well, let's just trade off the queen. So I was like, take, take. And so that's what we did during the game, is I made a miss. Unfortunate, but, not unrecoverable. Now we've traded queens, because I was like, well, either way, his rook's going to be here, which threatens this lane, but I can castle. Or he's going to take with king, and no, he can no longer castle. He decided to take with rook. Completely understandable move. He now controls this column. And, it's pretty open, so I just decided to go with some simple development, keep the game sort of steady. Sorry, I did not do that, actually. I thought I did that immediately. But I decided to trade off bishops. This game, I was, like, all about the trades. Let's just clean things up a bit. One, that piece was hanging. So, had to get rid of that or push back and open up this column. That was probably the better move in this scenario, is being willing to trade and then open up this column, put the knight there. But whatever. Trade the bishops, and my goal was here to double up pawns and then also not, hang my bishop, because, who likes to hang pieces? So then I castle, and this obviously allows me to get my king into a little bit safer corner. Maybe I can put the rook here and trade off the rooks too. I was really into trading this game, guys. Like, it was basically dead even because of how many trades I did. Like, we cleared up the board pretty fast. He to the bishop there, and that's where I decided, okay, I'm going to try and come take control of this column as well, and sort of pin this bishop to the rook. And so, that was kind of my general thought process, and then maybe I could bring out the bishop later here, or pin this knight to the rook, etc. But then he decided he was just going to move his bishop out of the way, so obviously I decided, well, let's just eliminate castling from this game for you unless you want to underdevelop your knight. So I traded off again, and now I decided to seize the opportunity to pin the knight to the king. And so that's what I did. And it's a pretty even game. I mean, the rating's 0-0. Like, it's not leaning towards any one person. We've just kind of made trades all game. But as you can see, my opponent was just making moves so quick. He's up to 16:26 on time. I'm down to 14:28. He decides to defend his knight with the rook, which came here, so obviously I decided not to take. I just checked his king, because in this I honestly thought this was the best move. Just check the king, maybe force it here. Maybe we can start getting into a position for a back rank checkmate. He decided to block with the bishop again. Not losing. It's a fine move. So here is where things, I believe, started to go very poorly. Or no, here it is. So this was obviously not a great move, but my idea was attack here, maybe attack here later, like if he moves his king. I can do a take, 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 or something along those lines, just kind of setting up my knight to get a pawn here, or maybe a bishop trade. He did not fall for that, though. He moved his king down, solidified his center here, and defended both these pieces. It really wasn't worth it. So I decided I was going to maybe try and do like a pawn push and start like trying to get through this. That was obviously a mistake according to the engine, because what I did not notice is that after I moved this knight here, he was no longer defending this pawn. That was still attacked by this knight. And he removed the pin king from the knight. So it was a really good move. And that is not what I noticed whenever he made this move. So now he's completely winning. He's finally up a piece. And yeah, we're in a bad spot, but you know, it's not a great spot. And so my next idea is, how can I make things worse? And that is exactly what I did. By moving my knight to e8. Because my goal was move it here, maybe reroute it up into the center here, get it a little more involved. Because right now it can't go here, it can't go here. And so that's what I did. And this is immediately losing, because there is rook takes here, there is knight takes, the hanging bishop. So, all sorts of losing moves. That's not a great move either, apparently. But yeah, obviously he took there. And now we are in a completely losing situation according to the computer. He is 5 points up. So it's not looking good. I decided I'm going to move my knight back and just try and get it away from this position, because obviously nothing's happening up in this corner. It's all pretty well defended. So I decided to move my knight back. Maybe start working into the center again, like here, attacking here. Just generally trying to get him back into the game. He moved his king. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm sure there's some great analysis on why this is a good move, but I'm not a grandmaster, so I'm not even gonna pretend like I would know exactly why this is a good move. All I can really think about is it just defends this pawn a little more, defends the rook, whatever. I'm not sure. I'm not a grandmaster. So I decided to attack his knight here, just kind of push it out, because I've realized now this knight's defends this spot, pawn is defending this spot. He can't go there. He can't go there. He's only left to go here. And so my opponent immediately makes the move rook to f5. I was very confused by this. I had to double take to make sure I wasn't missing anything. But obviously the best move here is just to take the hanging knight. So he decides to push his pawn. Understandable move, just keep pushing it. Maybe he can open up here a little bit. I decided, I mean, if he's going to hang his knight, I'm going to see if he's going to leave his rook hanging too, because maybe he'll make that mistake as well. He did not, so pushed it all the way back, but honestly, not great for development. I mean, I would have put it here, attack both these pawns. There's not a lot I could have done in that situation. I mean, I could have done here, but then he could take back. Not a lot of great moves for me in this scenario, so probably should have gone here, threatened both these pawns. Didn't do that though. So obviously I'm going to take the pawn that he left hanging in the center. That's also another move, is defending this pawn. So I took his pawn, and now we are back completely even after my blunder and his blunders. So we go back to developing into the center. Just trying to get control here. It's a fine move. Putting knights in the middle of the board is usually pretty good. I decided I'm just going to be okay with the trade here. You know, get my rook here, maybe put my pawn in the center again. He decided to leave. You know, now he's double attacking here, here. So I decided I was just going to push the pawn. And now I sort of have like a little stone wall, like sideways stone wall thing going on, where this knight defends here, this pawn defends here. And we just push up. He decided to push this pawn, I guess, attacking here. And honestly, I was perfectly content making this trade. The engine says it was a mistake. I'm not exactly sure what a better move would have been. Maybe pushing the king here to defend this pawn, because the knight was going to have to go here. I'm not exactly sure. But that's not what this is about. I'll go over and analyze the best moves later. This is just sort of analyzing what my mindset was during the game, and sort of showing what I think could be better. So maybe the king here, or pushing one of these pawns up, would be other great moves. Maybe. Yeah, see, this is a fine move. So maybe it was just pushing these pawns. But I decided to take Then he decided he was going to attack my rook, and so I decided, well, I can win a pawn here and also attack his rook, and that's sort of just a trade I'm willing to make, because I get a pawn and his rook. So, best move, found it. Obviously, once he moves his rook here to attack my pawn, I'm not going to leave my rook hanging. So I pushed it forward. Now it's defending this pawn here, just in case he tries to do anything crazy there. Also still defending this knight, which defends this pawn. Overall, keeping the structure alive was my main goal here. So he takes, and then I decide I'm just done with this knight. It can be kicked out. So it moves back. I move my knight here, and now I got my rook and my knight lined up, ready to attack this pawn. And as you can see, my opponent still has almost as much time as when he started. So this is a great example of, you have time in the game, use it. You have plenty of time. 11 minutes left on my side, 14 minutes on his side. A few less mistakes could have benefited him largely, but he was taking, I don't know, on occasion 5 seconds to make his move. So he obviously moved his rook down to make sure that there was nothing I could do to take this pawn. So I decided to push here, attacking his knight. Maybe he hangs his knight again, I don't know. He did not hang his knight, but he did blunder it by just putting it right back in the way of my pawn. So obviously I'm going to take. There wasn't much thought process behind that. He decided he was going to take this column here, maybe do something there. I'm not exactly sure. But it still defends here, stops me from pushing this pawn to attack. Fine move. But I just decided I'm going to keep rolling up here. I got my pawn defended by my knight. So now I'm going to attack this bishop that's been sitting there since like round or move like 3. He takes, I take, we trade. And now he pushes his pawn here, obviously trying to hunt down my knight. But in scenarios like this, it's not always great to be in the hunt, because what he failed to consider is I have 3 pieces lined up on this pawn. Meanwhile, he has 2. So obviously, basic math, I take with rook, he takes with rook, I take with the knight that was hanging. And now we're in a scenario where he can move his king. I'm going to start chomping away at his pawns. And that's kind of how it goes, is, I just decide this is totally a fine position to be in. I have 2 knights and then 2 extra pawns. Maybe something can happen here. And so from here I decide I'm going to move my knight here, completely blocking off his pawns from moving. He can now only move his king. So obviously he starts moving over his king, maybe trying to attack my knight, but it's defended. So I start moving my knight, so that way these 2 pawns can push up together. He moves his king back. I move my knight back, and now this pawn is obviously defended here, and here, and here. So now I can push this pawn all the way here, and he can't do anything about it. He moves his king, I move my pawn. Now this was probably a mistake on my part. What I probably should have done here is taken here, and then there's not much he could do. I mean, it does leave this knight hanging, but then push, push, push. But my thought process was, I'm just going to take. And now I have 2 passed pawns, but he also has a passed pawn. Oops. So anyway, I start pushing. He starts pushing. Here I decided to get my king out of the way because I didn't want any nasty forks to happen or anything like that. So whenever he moves here, he's going to have a queen, but it's not going to check me. And then I can put my queen here and potentially do a check back on him. Maybe some force storm, some sort of trade. It's made 19, but I'm obviously not going to see the main 19. He turns into a queen, I turn into a queen. And honestly, what I thought was going to happen is a check here. But then my opponent makes the crazy move, queen b7, forking my king and my queen. And so obviously I make the only move that is necessary here, and I put my queen there, and this is when my opponent decided he was going to resign. So obviously, this was a time thing. My opponent never spent more than 10 seconds on a move, really. I think there was one time, and it was in the end game. So my opponent could have definitely used his time a little more wisely. For me, definitely could have, focused on not making big blunders like I did here in the middle game, where I completely hung my bishop and my pawn. So focusing on things like that, I think I just need to work on my middle game a little bit better. The end game was really good. It was honestly a really good end game. The game said I played like about a 1600, so not bad. It said I could have definitely, I think I had about 60% accuracy in the mid game though, so I think that's something I should definitely work on going forward. But yeah, this was game 5, so I'm finally officially at an elo, and the game put me at 1038. So that is my official starting point for elo. It's going to get a lot harder to rank up from here. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I can't wait to film the next one for you guys. And yeah, I hope I'll see you guys there. Peace.